Yeah, I know this is a few days late, but I apologize. Certain someone has not been allowing me to take a break from anything else. Like, seriously, the news coming out about this guy, not to mention the trailer coming out today, it's just been nuts. Like, this guy is not allowing me to take a break. So, that's why this review is late. That's why this finale is late, and I apologize in advance. So, you want someone to blame? Blame the hedgehog. Don't blame me. Anywho, today's the day, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are finishing off Attack on Titan Season 1. And it ends the same great way that it pretty much started. Like, yes, it kind of started off just really good, but then it got really, really good when we got to Struggle for Dross. So, yeah, can I say this is my favorite arc of Season 1? No, I'd still say that the previous one, the 57th Scouting Mission, is my favorite arc of this season, but this is still one hell of a way to go out. This season ends on a bang, to say the very least. So much so that I decided to just review all 3 episodes together in one video. So that would, by default, make this the longest review of the entire Attack on August series. It has definitely been quite a journey with this show, from finally getting to see it after so many years of wanting to witnessing all these incredible, crazy events happening for the first time, to crying a few tears of sadness at the death of some of my favorite characters. We're gonna miss you, Levi Squad. We're gonna miss you. And, of course, just jaw on the ground when this show wants to get epic. Because when this show wants to be epic and grandiose, it succeeds with flying colors. And now we are here at its final arc of its first season. And I'm not going to be covering Season 2 until next year, so... Will I watch it before then? I don't know, but all I can say is that this has been one of the most fun, riveting, and downright heart-pounding first-time watches that I have ever had ever since I started this channel 4+ years ago. So, let's send Season 1 of this show off with the biggest bang that we can possibly give it. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Animation Station, your #1 stop decision for anything and everything animation. Welcome to the finale of the first ever Attack on August with Attack on Titan, Season 1, Episodes 23, 24, and 25, known as Smile, Mercy, and Wall, or also known as the entire arc known as Assault on Stohess. They ended on a high note, let me tell you. Like, it's not my favorite. Again, I love the 57th Scouting Regiment mission arc the best. I think that's the best arc of the season. But this one is still really damn good. So, let's not waste any more time and dive straight into it. You guys know how it works by now. We read off the overview, we go over certain moments, and just overall talk about the episode and what it does right. So, let's start with our overview. In Stohess district on Eastern Wall Sina, which is the most inner wall out of all 3 walls of this civilization, Annie prepares to join her military police in a mission to escort Eren to the capital, until she's pulled aside by Armin, who asks for her assistance in sneaking Eren away to safety. Hesitantly agreeing, Annie's led by Eren, Armin, and Mikasa to a tunnel leading underground. Annie refuses to follow the scouts below, and their suspicions that Annie is the female Titan are confirmed. Escaping capture, Annie transforms in the middle of the city. Yeah, Annie is the female Titan. In other words, I was right when I guessed it a couple episodes back. But this episode actually focuses on Annie, and it doesn't really get to the whole Eren thing until the end of the first episode. Like, it's pretty well done, and we do get to see more about Annie. We see that she was trained by her father to join the military police, and Her father was definitely a little bit overly obsessed with her becoming a soldier, and she meets up with her fellow regiment people, Hitch, Marlowe, and what's the name of the other guy? I think that's it. Hitch, Marlowe, and her. So, they end up with the mission to lead Aaron to the capital. And that's when they notice that there are some people from the merchant regiment of the military police selling off the government officially, I don't know how to put it, government officially given gear, the ODM gear, and they're selling it off illegally. In other words, it's kind of a black market. Marlowe sees this, and obviously he's disgusted seeing this, so he tries to tell them to, not do that, and for his trouble, he gets the crap beaten out of him by one of these superior officers by the gun butt hitting him in the chest and upside the head. But right before he actually loses consciousness, that's when Annie steps in and scares him off. And then that's when we get to the actual part of the episode where Aaron and everyone else comes into play. Armin secretly calls Annie over to a alley because all three of them are wanted. And after some convincing, she is convinced to help them. To sneak Aaron out of there. And they find this entrance to this underground tunnel. And in this underground tunnel, they hope to find a quick exit from the walls before, the capital can get Aaron and more than likely murder him. So, yeah, Mikasa and Armin pretty much broke Aaron out of jail. So that's why they all have to hide in cloaks. But when they're about to descend down these tunnels, that's when Annie refuses. And she gives this haunting, bone-chilling speech that really just shocked me. Like, it still shocks me how good the voice acting is in this show. Like, who voices Annie? I need to see. Who voices Annie? Lauren Landa. Or Landa. Hope I'm pronouncing your name right. But, man, your voice acting in this scene is insanely good. Like, insanely freaking good voice acting. But we also learned something else. Not only is Annie the female Titan, but she is also the one who assassinated Hanji's test subjects. Yeah, in other words, she was not using her own gear. She used Marlowe's gear. And then that's when she just snaps. And it turns out that she's somehow even more psychopathic than Aaron. And again, the speech that she gives in this scene is so damn good. Like, it is that kind of speech that just puts your heart right in the basement. And I know it's probably not a big shock that she's the female Titan because, well, the hairstyle. But for those who weren't able to figure it out, I can only imagine the shock you had on your face when you found out. So, that's when Mikasa raised to fight. And Annie expresses relief as her identity is discovered, revealing herself to be a psychopath. And I just gotta read the final ending part of this because there's no other way to explain it. Afterward, Annie states that her bet has just begun and tries to transform. Armin shoots a signal flare and the hidden scouts jump out to rush her, trying to prevent her from transforming. In other words, they start to realize that she is, in fact, the female Titan and they planted a trap. They tackle her limbs from different directions and gag her to prevent her from biting herself. Despite the scouts' attempts to stop her, she succeeds in transforming into a Titan using a blade hidden in her ring. She's crafty, you gotta give her that. Confirming her true identity and killing the men that were restraining her instantaneously. Mikasa was fast enough to see her strategy and dragged Aaron and Armin underground in order to protect them from the transformation's blasts. The entire district watches as a tower of light and dust rises in the city. and the female Titan begins her onslaught yet again. But this time, inside the most inner wall of the entire base. Like, if Cena falls, Maria and Rose fall with it. And that means there's no protection left from Titans. So, needless to say, the tension and the stakes are as high as they can possibly go for the season. Because if they don't stop her and she gets away, she's just going to bring all those Titans back. She's going to end up putting holes through the wall like the Colossal did in Shiganshina. And all of humanity's going to die. Yeah, you can't get any higher stakes than that. So, that's the end of part 1. Now let's move on to part 2, which is Mercy. Read the overview from there. Recalling the meeting when the scouts suspected the female Titan's identity, Aaron's too hesitant to transform into his Titan form to fight Annie. I mean, I can't blame him. Not only because he doesn't believe that's her until he's fully convinced, but also because, last time they fought, he lost. He got his head half chopped off, so... Yeah, I don't blame him for being hesitant either. Annie's kind of terrifying. Devising a plan to distract her, Mikasa and Armin split up to confront Annie, but Aaron's crushed under the collapsing tunnel and impaled by rebar. And you see the impalement. It goes through his chest, out his back, and there's blood everywhere. Like, this show does not hold back. It is super gory when it wants to be super gory. The Scout Regiment engages in battle with the female Titan once again, while Jean and Armin attempt to convince Aaron to fight. When Aaron finally finds his resolve, he transforms into his Titan form with a mighty roar and lots of blood spilt. He transforms into his Titan form and clashes with the female Titan in one final confrontation. So, yeah, a lot happens in this second part. So let's go through it step by step. So first we have, as Aaron witnesses Annie actually becoming the female Titan, he recalls a meeting that he had with Levi and the higher-ups of the Scout Regiment. And the first thing we see is that Levi does not blame Aaron for the death of his squad. Because, well, Levi more blames himself. So that was a nice scene. I'm pretty sure Aaron felt relieved to know that Levi did not want to kill him. So, that's good. Then Aaron tries to transform while in the tunnels, but all he does is just maliciously marauder his hand. Like, yeah, it does, like, there's a lot of blood. He's biting down on it hard. You hear him struggling, like, bone-chilling, man. This show is so good at being so violent. And that's when Annie in her Titan form kicks through the roof and crushes Aaron. And that's how he gets impaled by rebar. And that's when Erwin wants to go and help, as he and Levi are then surrounded by troops of the military police, guns ready, told by Niall Dawk that they are against the king. Jean attempts to help Aaron out, but Annie keeps on fighting the military, throwing more rubble around, some of which lands on Aaron and traps him even more. In other words, she's determined to kill Aaron by any means necessary. Because she is, for lack of a better term, a crazy, monstrous, psychotic bitch. And that's when Annie gets trapped yet again, this time by Hanji and her part of the Scout Regiment, but because they couldn't actually get all the restraints, of course the Titan breaks free and runs away. And this is when Aaron, impaled by stone and rebar, finds his resolve, and that's when his psychotic rage boils over again. And that's when we find out that it's the psychotic rage, not the blood loss, that actually triggers his transformation. Like, he has to have the resolve, and he has to be 100% convinced of this being what he wants to do, or he won't transform. And it's a nice way to bring it back around to, again, the scenes during the Scout training, where Aaron went to pick up the spoon, all of a sudden he sprouted a Titan arm. Like, it's him finally realizing the actual trigger of his transformation. So, yep. Aaron's still trapped under debris with rebar, and wood and all kinds of things in his chest. When he remembers Armin saying that someone who cannot sacrifice anything can never change anything, Eren thinks this is why he failed, because he clung onto his companions and his ties with them. Eren remembers the deaths of his fellow soldiers as well as his mother, which further infuriates him as he pushes through the wood, impaling himself, and says that he will kill Annie. At that moment, after lots of bloodlust and a lot of amazing screaming from Bryce Papenbrook, because Bryce Papenbrook is an amazing freaking voice actor that seriously does not get enough credit, he transforms, with a subsequent lightning bolt catching the attention of Niall and Erwin, who are still at gunpoint. The ground shakes as Eren sprints through the city in Titan form. Annie is then caught off guard when Eren's Titan surprises her with a solid punch to the face, knocking her into a building and demolishing it. An enraged Eren then charges at her, setting up the big final confrontation. Yeah, I don't know how you can get a better ending than that for your second part of your 3-part finale. Like, seriously insanely good. And then finally, we have the actual finale, Wall. This overview, the battle between Eren and Annie brings devastation to Stohess, leading up to a final struggle between the Titans near a damaged Walsina. Before she can be captured, Annie then encases herself in a hardened crystal. When Eren and the scouts recover, Commander Erwin answers to the mayor of the city for the chaos that ensued from the battle. Despite heavy losses and untold destruction, Erwin believes the capture of Annie Leonhardt has brought humanity one step closer to understanding the true nature of the Titans. And we gotta start here, with what is by far the most badass fight of the entire season. Yes, even more than the fight in the woods. Like, Eren's final confrontation with Annie in this season, this final confrontation in the final episode of the season, it is everything you want and then some. It is brutal, it is bloody, and it is all kinds of badass with that music in the background and all the scout regiment trying to execute another plan as they're fighting. Like, it is as adrenaline fueled as you can possibly get, and it's freaking amazing. And then you have Niall still holding Erwin at gunpoint, but he decides to arrest him instead, after some convincing from both Erwin himself and Levi. Why they don't arrest Levi? Beyond me. This is when we also get more flashbacks of a younger Annie and her father, the father that's brutally trained her to be part of the military police. And we see how that connection, despite it being very, for lack of a better term, abusive, you can tell that she still really loves her dad. So this has me thinking one of two things. Either one, he's dead, and this is her way of getting back at them. Or B, she has something to do with the fact that Eren's also a Titan hybrid. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait till next season to find out. But these flashbacks really do add a lot to the character. It may seem like a small thing, but when you look at the grand scheme, it is a much bigger thing than you may think. And then this last part, I just gotta read it off. Annie fights off Eren and eventually attempts to escape by climbing the wall. After Eren nearly crushes her head and almost rips her face off. Eren's last attempt to catch her ends in vain as she manages to fend him off by sacrificing her right leg. She continues climbing with one leg, and just when Armin thinks she's about to get over the wall, Mikasa flies in with her omnidirectional mobility gear and cuts off both of her fingers and hands. Stepping on her face, Mikasa then tells Annie to fall, with the latter recalling about her father one more time. In the memory, her father tells her he was wrong, being too late to ask for forgiveness. He tells her that even if the whole world's against her, he's always on her side and has promised to return to him. Annie falls to the ground and Eren pounces on her before she can get up. He then decapitates her and removes her right arm while losing one of his arms in the process. Just as Eren claims that he will destroy the world, he bites off a chunk of the female Titan's neck, revealing Annie's body. This worries Hanji and others, saying that Eren's about to devour Annie. However, upon seeing Annie crying, Eren stops himself. In other words, confirming that he now has full control of his Titan form. This worries Hanji and the others, thinking that... Well, sorry, I reread that. This gives Annie a chance to use her hardening ability, encasing herself in a crystal, which causes her Titan body to start merging with Aaron's. At that moment, Levi appears, cutting Aaron out of the Titan and scolding him for trying to eat their evidence. Yeah, it's a shame that Levi's kind of sidelined for this last part, but the focus here was the Titan versus Titan fight, so I'm good with it. Like, I wish he wasn't sidelined, but they gave a decent reason for why. But he does get this one last moment, and him scolding Aaron for trying to eat evidence is hilarious. And then that's when we get the big final closer of the entire season. We have Erwin being questioned by the upper members of the Capitol. We have Annie being encased in a crystal deep underground where it's the scout's job to now watch her night and day. And of course, we have them already trying to make another plan to rid the world of the Titans once and for all. I'm just going to go ahead and read this last part because there's no better way for me to really explain it. Sometime later, Aaron wakes up in his bed, having recovered from his injuries. He is aware of Annie being frozen, with Jean confirming that they gained nothing from the operation. Unexpectedly, Armin states that Aaron is the one who let that happen. After a short hesitation, Aaron confirms that upon seeing Annie, he could not move. Armin and Jean are then called for a hearing, and Aaron confides to Mikasa about his feelings during the battle. Mikasa expresses herself to be happy that he's alive. Outside, Jean and Armin discuss whether becoming a monster is the only way to beat the Titans. Armin puts his faith in Aaron, but states that it will not be easy to overcome. At the hearing, Erwin states this to be the moment of humanity's attack on the Titans. As Annie is being kept deep underground, a group of the former 104th Cadet Corps soldiers are nearing an unknown location, not knowing of the dangers that await them. At the part of wall seen damaged by Annie, part of the wall crumbles away to reveal a Titan inside. In other words, putting in the big cliffhanger to lead into Season 2. So, yeah, that's the episode. It's epic, it's hectic, it's wild, and it is an amazing way to end off a pretty great first season. Like, man, I was not expecting this first season to be this consistently great, but I'm so glad that it is. This is a freaking, for lack of a better term, a kick-ass first season of a pretty kick-ass show. So, I guess all that's left to do now is to talk about my final thoughts on each episode, which I have right here. So, please bear with my reading a little bit longer. We're almost done. So, here are my final thoughts on each episode individually. Part 1. Annie gets the spotlight as the military police discover that the Merchant Regiment is selling their gear, and she reveals herself as both the killer of Hanji's test subjects and the murderous female Titan. It's a pretty slow start, but the episode itself is great, and the deranged speech from Annie when she's discovered is bone-chilling. Part 2. Annie unleashes her female Titan form inside of the walls of Stohess as the remaining soldiers scramble to capture her again, and Aaron struggles to transform the fight due to his internal conflict with processing her treachery. A straight-up adrenaline rush that perfectly builds from Part 1, and the speech from Aaron at the end is amazing. Awesome episode. And Part 3. The season finale has arrived, as Aaron and the soldiers begin their final confrontation with Annie in her truly monstrous Titan form. It delivers everything you could want from a season finale, a satisfying conclusion, but hands down the most badass fight of the entire season, while also simultaneously setting up for the next season. Amazing episode. Final thoughts on Season 1 as a whole, it is a truly masterful work of art that's unlike any anime that has come before it or after it. With stellar animation, phenomenal voice acting, sharp writing, outstanding storytelling, and insane music, this is a truly incredible experience, and I can't wait to cover Season 2 next year. It may not be perfect, but it's still a great season. So, let's get to all the final verdicts now, because I have a couple of them to give out. So, Part 1, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for Part 1 because of the slow start. The start was slow, and it did have me thinking it was about to be just a 7 out of 10. Part 2, 9 out of 10. Easy 9 out of 10 for Part 2. Like, it perfectly builds off of what Part 1 left off with, and the speech from Aaron alone, with him pretty much tapping into his rage and realizing how to actually control his Titan form, while also on the literal verge of death from being impaled. Like, you can't get more badass than that. until part 3, which is a 10 out of 10. Because, best fight in the season, Aaron versus Annie in one final confrontation. That's brutal, bloody, gory, and everything that you could ever want. And it does a great job setting up for the next season. And as for season 1 overall, it's a 9 out of 10. It's not quite perfect, but it is still a great season. I had an amazing time watching it, and I'm so glad that I finally got to witness it. So yeah, a pretty kick-ass first season, to say the very least, and it ended off with a bang. And that, my friends, concludes our time with Attack on Titan for the year. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for coming with me on this journey, and it's been quite the journey, to say the very least. I wasn't expecting this show to be this amazing, but man, I'm hooked now, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Will I wait until next year to actually watch it? I don't know. It depends on what I have on my schedule. But this is going to be the last review for the month, because I've decided to cancel my other reviews because, this guy will not allow me to focus on anything else. So, all that's really left for the month, upload-wise, is the trailer for Sonic 3. That's coming out in 2 hours. I'm excited, bro. I'm so excited. But after that, no more uploads until September. And you guys already know September is going to be SpongeBob Month 6. So, I don't need to make a big announcement about it or nothing, because you already know. So, yeah. That's the final review for August. And that's the second to last upload for August. So, thank you guys so much for watching all these reviews. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions on all these episodes in this show overall down below. Please do not put any spoilers for seasons 2, 3, and 4 in there. I appreciate you leaving those out. And until we meet again, I'm Jack Small of Animation Station, and I'll see you in the next review. Take care, my fellow Titan Slayers. See you next year.